Hey, Roger. How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. Back from vacation. I hope I gave the proper shout out before I left and people weren't confused I was gone.
Hey guys. We're just waiting on Igor. Looks like RL declined. Which also makes sense why RL's not responding to me on Slack. Maybe he's not working. Was he at AWS reInvent last week? Does anyone know? Maybe he's taking time off because of that or something.
Related to that, I was out, I think, the last call. Sorry if I didn't, make it known beforehand.
I think we cancelled our last call because everyone was at KubeCon North America that week.
No,
It was two ago.
Yeah, but the one last week, the recording got all messed up.
Yes.
Yep.
So we didn't discuss anything. No serious decisions were made, so we just dropped that one.
Yeah. Should we kick things off? Hey. With no RL, we can kick things off. I put up an agenda 10 minutes ago. I'm behind. I also renamed one of the files where I realized I used the wrong date format, so that's fine.
As an FYI, I need to probably drop a little bit early today, unfortunately, some family commitments. So.
Okay. We will try and keep it very quick then. I'll just take the lead. Right. Topics to discuss are 1.11 release. Assuming that everyone is happy with the security patch policy, which we're going to discuss next, the 1.11 release is happening immediately after this call. So me and Christian will go over and do the release immediately after this call if everyone is happy. We want to get it done and out of the way, specifically because that solves some Go CVEs that have come through. So this leaves us nicely onto our security patch policy, and I put a message into the OpenTofu internal Slack chat just to try and get eyes on it early because I wanted to discuss this quite urgently. I will bring up a copy of this now on this page. Don't really want to make it a secret guest. Whatever, that's fine. Oh god, this is terrible. Excuse the formatting.
You can rename in edit so it actually markdowns it.
Yeah, should the MD preview changes. Here we go. Okay, right. So the maintainers team got together and we got to discussing some things. One of the things we discussed in the last TSC meeting was the idea of tying our release cycle to the Go runtime release cycle. They release twice a year and only support the latest 2 versions, which means that technically the Go runtime only gets security patches for the latest year of releases. So we were looking at how we can tailor our support policy, and one of the things that we ended up doing as maintainers was conflating the idea of support in general, and we want to try and separate it into 2 things, one that needs tackling first, one that can come later. The one that needs tackling right now is security patch policies and making sure that we're patching CVEs or Golang vulnerabilities. And that's what I want to be discussing today, and I am proposing that we do security patches where possible for up to 1 year, and that we state that in our changelog. I think that's the one thing that Christian really pushed for in the maintainers team, that we put it in the changelog, and we also put this in a security policy somewhere in one of the files on our GitHub repo. Igor, you raised some concerns in the last TSC meeting about trying to make sure that our policy lines up with our competitors so that we don't look too bad. And so I wrote a little bit about this. How does this compare to HashiCorp's policies specifically? They have a lot of what I would call weasel words. I shouldn't say that on a public video.
Just to clarify, I don't really care about competitors.
Yep.
Per se,
Okay.
but what I care about is how our customers, when especially big enterprises with whole bunch of policies, security regulations, and compliance and stuff, how they will look if they make the decision to migrate from Terraform to OpenTofu. They will do risk analysis. They will do whole bunch of other non-technical exercises.
Yes.
And my only concern was to make sure that our security policies will not in any way, ideally, affect the decision of hey, let's not migrate to OpenTofu because it's problematic. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I kind of bear this in mind when we were talking to the maintainers about what we should do, and I agree completely with it. And our opinion as the maintainers is that we should try and be as transparent as possible about what we do and what we can't do. And I think for bugs and security patches, we kind of said we can go and fork an upstream library. If an upstream library has a security issue, we can go and fork it and provide security patches, and we'll do our best effort to go and do this for as long as possible. But we can't go and fork the Go runtime. And I think people might, if there's a security CISO at one of the companies who is saying there's a CVE in your tool, you need to go and patch it, I think they'd be happier with 1 year of support than as saying we maintain a fork of the Go runtime that we handle ourselves.
That makes sense, yeah.
So that's the situation that we're in. There was a vulnerability reported by Go in the runtime yesterday that we believe impacts OpenTofu. It's a very strange issue of TLS validation of certificates. If one certificate from the certificate authority disallows a certain subdomain, and then another certificate allows a subdomain on one of the leaves, then it misvalidates the TLS certificate. There's a possible situation if someone is using a registry and someone has control of both the DNS and the certificate authority for whatever is running those registries, they may be impacted, and someone may serve something through a man-in-the-middle attack. It's extremely obscure, but we are vulnerable. We have shipped a patch already for 1.10, which is our current release build. So 1.10.8 went out yesterday. We did that as soon as we realized what the issue was. We are shipping 1.11 as soon as possible, but we cannot ship with our current policy of saying, was it 1 year, 2 years? I can't remember.
It's number of releases.
Yeah, it's in the TSC note somewhere. The number of releases as 3, which means we are on 1.10 now. We technically should be shipping a security patch for 1.9 and 1.8, but we cannot do so because the Go runtime is too old on those, and so we're out of the support period. So, I just threw a lot of information at you. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I guess one question is, before I ask my question, just want to say, based on what I read through of this policy, seems good to me. So I support the plan. Just wanted to ask, did we evaluate decoupling Go mod version updates and usage of latest Go features from updating the toolchain itself? Because you could hypothetically use the latest version of Go and then just say you can go ahead and compile on older versions of Go if you need backwards compatibility.
I think the big problem is they've dropped support for some older platforms in 1.24 to 1.25, which means if we did that upgrade, people currently on 1.9 or 1.8, if they were to try and do that upgrade, they might find that that patch version breaks it effectively doesn't support their operating system anymore. So it's more, it's less of a, there's new features in the language, and it's more so the actual compiler runtime itself doesn't support some of it has drop support between versions.
So just to be clear, the nuance there though is that like the compiled assets that are provided as part of releases would now be broken for folks on older platforms.
Yes.
But
That's correct.
That Git tag of the repository can still be used on older platforms if we decouple the GoMod version and the toolchain version, right? Because you can just go ahead and compile for that older version.
I think the question that the maintainers, we kind of discussed this as well, because somebody could come along and maintain a fork. They could go and build an older version of OpenTofu 1.8.1.9 with a new version of Golang runtime. I think the question is, do we want to be shipping and putting extra effort in to go and support that edge case that I don't think people are actually having? But I don't think we'd be happy saying that we ship things that could break changes depending on how you build it. I think it's a lot more easier to be clear cut and just say, we don't support it, please update to 110.
Works for me.
We could put in our documentation about if someone does want to build it, here's how you do it. And it is just changing 2 locations for the Go version.
Well, no. If you start using the newest features, then you have to get into like, did you untangle all the latest updates that the maintainers did? If you keep the GoMod version pinned, but you just update the toolchain version for the compiled assets, then I believe you address the vulnerability, but you leave the door open for somebody going in and compiling on an older version with a guarantee that you're not using any features that will break their build.
I think that's something we should investigate. Maybe we can talk about it as maintainers. It's not a bad idea. I don't know if it's worth the effort. I'd say that there's not a lot of value in the new features of the Golang runtime sometimes. But then I know I've shared like 3 blog posts about things that are coming in the next version of Go that I want to use.
And the linters will tell you to do different things based on your GoMod version. So you might just automatically get code changes.
Okay.
It might be worth doing a survey or something. Like, what platforms do you run Tofu on? Just to see, like, if we did a sampling right now of the community, how many people are on, like, super outdated systems that would be affected by something like this?
So I think we may need to do that anyway. So I'm already running an application that collects all of our per architecture downloads. And we were just discussing about dropping support for ARM 32-bit. Maybe we need to have this discussion alongside that as well.
And also to call it out, that's another option you have. So if you want, you could, like when you need to maintain backwards compatibility, you could compile a second binary for that older minor release on the newer Go toolchain. So compile it twice, once for the new toolchain and one for the old one. The new toolchain has the patch for TLS or whatever, and the old one will continue to work as is. So users have to opt in anyways to use that new patched version.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can open an issue and discuss this, but I think right now we need just to bring it back to the security policies and the stuff we got on screen. If we are just saying that we are supporting things as long as the Go runtime, then maybe this is not an issue we need to solve. Maybe we can have some discussions naturally as people say, I need support for my very old MacBook and new versions of OpenTofu, and then we can have that discussion then.
And that way we're saying this is our minimum, because this is a minimum that I think all the maintainers are comfortable with. But if we ever decide to go above and beyond this, I don't think anyone would be angry that, oh, we've extended support for these releases. That's
Mhm.
I think this is setting this is what we can clearly do right now, and we're open to continuing the conversation of improving that over time.
So, with all of this in mind, is everybody okay? Do we need to do a formal vote or anything? We're missing RL. Is everybody okay with this security policy? We go and write this up. The main thing this means is when we ship 1.11 in a minute in the changelog, it does say that the end of life for that is August 2026
End of life for security patches,
for security patches.
which is different than bug fixes.
Correct.
Any reason, like honestly, any reason to continue to provide bug fixes without security patches? I mean,
That's
like,
a con.
it just in my experience is like usually like as soon as security patches end, it's kind of like end of everything.
I think it depends on the amount of effort that is required and how big the bug is, and I think we should review it on a per case basis. If there is a large bug, for instance, like I don't know, S3 updates and it breaks DynamoDB native locking, or S3 updates and it breaks the S3 native locking, we can go and backport a fix easily in 10 minutes and kick off a release, and it's not a problem. And we're the good guys then, and it looks like if it's low effort. I think we need to review it on a per case basis, but in my mind, they kind of end at the same time.
I just like, as Christian said, like there's one thing that we write, and we need to be very clear about it. And less questions, less kind of like speculations is better. And there's another thing when we can like absolutely take an exception and go like above and beyond.
Yeah.
So that's why like I would propose like not really talk about security, but like just general support and at August 2026. And that's it.
Okay.
I think part of it is it depends on your paranoia level, the security patches. So I'd say the vast majority of users, the actual patches that have gone into Go runtime, even past the expiration date of a given build, is not, for most people, they're not super critical. If you need to be running a tool that has 0 CVEs, then yes, you can't run it. But functionally, a lot of these older builds are still reasonably safe for the vast majority of people to run. But it is on a case-by-case basis, and I do see your point is that it does muddy the waters a little bit.
I agree and understand with you, but again, like the problem is like we need to like enterprise adoption is very essential and critical for OpenTofu future. So like while I agree with you that lots of folks like most of these vulnerabilities will never touch them and they don't care and they want to just continue to think it works, this is not the case for companies. And that's why like I want to put emphasis on like companies and enterprises which are essential for OpenTofu future and adoption.
I mean, kernel maintainers do have this notion that basically all bugs in the kernel are CVEs. Could be a similar notion applied to IAC here, where all bugs are security bugs for outdated versions of the minor, like older minor releases. If you can't deploy your infrastructure because AWS changed their and their implementation, like they made a breaking change to their API and you can no longer deploy anything because the native locking won't work. Is that like, critical to your infrastructure and potentially, destroying your business? Is that a security problem? Maybe. So I think there's credence to what Igor is saying. Maybe the two are just the same thing.
Yeah, I'd be okay with saying August next year is when this release effectively expires from a security point of view, and or even from a patch point of view. And I don't think anyone's going to complain if we backport a little bit further for some folks that might be using them. But as far as official policy goes, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, just to be aware, this is the pull request that we've got open now that says specifically security support, because we haven't written down a full bug support policy yet. That's the only reason we haven't said support in general.
Honestly, this phrasing implies that's kind of like all support. At least this would be like my expectation when I'm reading about like a line like this in any other software.
Yep. Okay.
Maybe a term to look at here is actively maintained, because that's what we're doing. We're actively maintaining this until August 1st, 2026. And if you decide to backport something because it's super important, that's not part of active maintenance. We just went above and beyond.
But I think I keep saying this in different ways. Until we are explicit in a support statement about what we do for bugs, which is we will fix bugs for X releases or X time, and we will make our best effort to support it on a case-by-case basis. I don't think we should say anything. We just need to talk about security stuff right now.
Also, like nothing stops us from extending support. If there's like some cases or whatever, we can like, I don't know, like in July next year, decide like, hey, 1.11 is super popular, blah, blah, blah. And like we see that we can easily upgrade to the new Go there without like PC changes. So we'll just like, hey, we're extending support for 1.11 for another 6 months, for example.
Yep. If we can, we'll do our best on a case-by-case basis. It's unlikely. And the main reason I say that is it seems that every year a new version of Mac comes out. So an old version of Mac is not supported by the latest Golang runtime. That's almost every time the Golang runtime is updated, it is almost always deprecating a version of Mac OS. So, yeah. Okay. So it sounds like everybody's happy. Do we need a formal vote, or is everyone just good to move on? Thumbs up, I'm happy with. We're on video. Awesome. All right, so this takes us into the 1.11 release. We'll do this immediately afterwards, and we will also merge in that PR that I showed a second ago. Christian.
Can you pull up the link I put in chat, the existing release.md? Just noting that we probably will want to change this. As part of the decision.
Yes, we will update this. Let's do this after this call. We updated Christian with the response of this. Okay. Can you make a note to do that, Christian? We'll do it immediately afterwards.
Yep.
Just so we don't forget. Okay. Agenda 1.11 release is good. We're going to do that immediately afterwards. KubeCon booths. Whilst we are all here, I don't know if this needs discussing too much. KubeCon Amsterdam is coming up, and we received an email from the CNCF. The deadline to request an OpenTofu booth or any booth for a CNCF project is closing on December 17th. And I was curious if anyone would like to have an OpenTofu booth in the, what do they call it? The CNCF contributor area. They're very small booths. I'm sure we've all been to KubeCon and seen them. Does anyone want one? Because I think mainly this is Yusuf a question for you, because I think every other, oh no, Igor, you guys don't do booths at KubeCon. But I don't think Gruntworks did a booth at KubeCon either. So are you interested in an OpenTofu specific booth?
We can ask marketing, see if we're interested in a booth. So this would be so I understand, this would be a Gruntwork branded booth inside the CNCF contributor hall, or is this Tofu branded?
This will be OpenTofu branded. Let's be honest, stool and table this big.
And can you give me any information on like what we would need to do? Do we need to pay for the booth or something?
So as a CNCF project, OpenTofu can get one if we just apply, and we've got a good reason to have one. So I think it's free. I think they put a display there. I will send over information.
There's like a little television there that you can show. It's like a small monitor, and it's about, I would say, 2 by 2. Like you can't really put much on the table at all. It's very small.
Most of the folks, most of the folks there are maintainers of different projects. So like for example, I went and talked with ORAS folks and thanked them for some of the work they did, helping getting some of Martin's changes merged in to their project. So it's more focused, it's less marketing for individual companies, and more so a way of saying, hey, if you want to talk about this open source project, here are some of the maintainers, here are some of the contributors, have an interesting conversation. Versus like, I'll say for the next North America one that I'd go to, I'd like to have a OpenTofu booth that I can go stand at. I might still go hang out at the Spacelift booth occasionally, but even when I'm at the Spacelift booth, what I'm usually doing is saying, hey, let's talk about OpenTofu. And then afterward, I'm talking about OpenTofu, talk to these guys and talk to all the other people. I'm not wearing my OpenTofu shirt. Talk to all the other companies on my sleeve because we're all part of a healthy ecosystem.
Likewise.
So I know that Dio is interested in going to KubeCon in Amsterdam, and I know Dennis is going for sure. So I can chat about that internally.
The only issues around staffing, possibly making sure that it's well maintained. I'd push for it just as an extra layer of separation between the sponsoring companies and the actual project. I've submissions in at the minute for both Lawrence and I to be there. I'm happy to help out in that. So
yeah,
for the Amsterdam one.
As far as I'm aware, they don't have any staffing requirements. So it's not that someone has to be at the booth 24/7.
It obviously looks better if there's somebody there to talk to.
Yeah. So, if Dio is going and Gruntworks is going, then maybe it's a good place it's a good thing to just order one anyway. I know I will be going to KubeCon Amsterdam, so there'll be a few of us from OpenTofu that could use the booth, and we could figure out a way to man it between us if we need to. I'd have to talk to Spacelift about how much they need me at the Spacelift booth versus the OpenTofu one. Oh, that's gonna. I'm never gonna sleep. Okay, I think that was everything. I just wanted to put it on the radar. Sorry. So these are due by Sunday, the 14th of December. So please talk to your marketing teams ASAP. And if you want to sign up for it, I believe I go through the CNCF service desk, I believe. So I have access to that, and all the maintainers do. So we can put in a request.
Just a correction, you gave the wrong date. Wednesday, 17th of December. The other one was
Yes.
That was the talks.
Yes, sorry. This needs to be done by Wednesday. So, cool. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to discuss, or can we let Roger finish early?
Yeah, can you just send me that link if it's a public link?
Sure, I will share the link in here. I've also shared it in our internal TSC channel in Slack.
I just want to say like a little thing is across our customers who use an OpenTofu, there is unusually large excitement about 1.11 to the point where recently a few customers asked us to add like RC versions, and they find using them in production because they're so excited about it, specifically about like the life cycle feature.
The enabled one. People love that.
Yeah, it's like we never had this before with any other version of OpenTofu, and I'm talking about like this like big enterprises. So like apparently like we did something right there.
I think this is a feature a lot of people have wanted for a lot of time. I think I think some space lift infrastructure is being deployed with it right now. No, I don't think it is. I think we discussed it because it would have simplified a lot of things. But yeah, it's a cool feature. So I'm glad to hear it. All right, I think that's everything. Take care, everyone. Have a great couple of weeks. Thanks for your time.
Take care.
Why can't I leave the call?